This show is part of the RetroZap.com podcast network.
This is what you can look forward to on episode 182 of Skywalking through Neverland.
I didn't have a cell phone back in 1978, but I had Kenner action figures.
Yeah, like that Skywalker family tree.
I did really like Davy Jones, though. So when Davy Jones showed up in the the second one, I did like that, too.
We're gonna force Lucasfilm's hand. How's that?
1 droid plus 5 droids is...
Oh, that's 6 droids! I got that!
Not only is it special for us watching, but it's special for John Williams, and that's just exciting.
And bring your lightsabers.
Yes!
My wife was really concerned that I was not gonna like Star Wars after this because you kind of just throw yourself into it.
Always remember, if you're gonna text at Disneyland, pull to the right. Wait a minute. Controversy in the Star Wars fandom universe?
What?
Mind blown.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
Hello, Skywalkers.
Listen.
Up to Neverland.
I only hope that we never lose sight of one thing, that it was all started by a mouse.
Wow. Oh, what?
You are skywalking through Neverland.
Hey, Skywalkers. Are you ready to talk some Star Wars, Disney, and find out who had the worst feeling about this? If you are, then we want to welcome you all to Skywalking through Neverland. This is your fun-filled, positive Star Wars and Disney podcast that takes you on a tour through the many decades of fandom. I am Richard Woloski, but now everyone, please say hello to my sweetie wife, Sarah.
Hello, Skywalkers. Hello, Star Wars and Disney family. Wow. Well, we like to start each and every show with a Wookiee hug. To our family of Skywalkers who listen to the show every week. For those of you on, what is this? This is YouTube.
Looking at YouTube right now.
Yeah, YouTube, you're watching right now. Facebook Live has been buggy for us. I don't know why. So we're going to do the YouTube Live. And thank you, Skywalkers, who are joining us right now.
Those are the SkyTubers.
Oh, Matthew O'Hearn just said, first time finally watching live. Yay!
Oh,
so
nice. Welcome, Matthew.
It's people like Matthew that we love who are watching us live. And then, you know what? I want to give a big shout out to Skywalkers who are listening on their various podcast catchers and maybe watching us on YouTube. We want to thank you all. And you know what? We love it when you tweet at us. We are at Skywalking Pod. And those of you watching on YouTube right now, as Hector Rios Jr. says, they are the hashtag SkyTubers.
Right on.
I like that.
Now, we are recording from Long Beach, California on August the 29th, 2017. Hey, what time is it, Sarah?
My watch is stuck in this.
Or I'll ask Minnie then.
It's 9:48. Good morning.
Oh, she says good morning to us.
Good morning to you and all the West Coast Skywalkers, because it's still pretty early. But not early enough to join us on our big super show, because coming up on this episode, we will be talking with Tim Leong, author of Star Wars Super Graphic, A Visual Guide to a Galaxy Far, Far Away. Now, we reviewed this book on last week's show, and we knew we had to get him on this week's show so he can tell us how he came up with these super awesome fun facts in graph form. And then right after our discussion with Tim, we'll tell you how you could win a copy of this book, courtesy of Chronicle Books.
And you'll want to win a copy of this book. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, this contest will be limited to the US and Canada, so just letting you know. Now, we'll also be talking with Josh Shaffer, who is the author of Discovering the Magic Kingdom, an unofficial Disneyland vacation guide. And in that book, there's plenty of tips for planning your upcoming Disneyland holiday trip, and also a lot of fun facts. You don't even need to be going on a trip. There's so many crazy fun facts, not only just for the parks, but for movies as well.
And we also have shout-outs, another long overdue Skywalker of the Week, and things we want to share. But first, let's hear from another Skywalker about what they think pushed fandom to a higher level.
Hello, Skywalkers! It's Mark Daniel, main stage MC for Star Wars Celebration and host of Inside Disney Parks. As we all celebrate 40 years of Star Wars fandom, here are some standout moments in my Star Wars experience. Let's start with Collectibles. You guys remember that lovable droid from The Force Awakens, BB-8? Well, Sphero made their very own BB-8 that you can collect. He drives around, listens to what you're saying, reacts to things. What an awesome toy. My wife and I still fight over who's going to play with him. Favorite collectible so far. And let's talk about movies. Rogue One. We got to see some brand new characters introduced into the Star Wars universe, and we got to see Darth Vader like never before as he kicked some rebel butt. And I had a great opportunity. I got to interview Mads Mikkelsen, who played Galen Erso, and during that time, for the release of Rogue One, one night only, we transformed Spaceship Earth at Epcot into an armed and fully operational battle station, aka the Death Star. And now let's talk about Celebration 2017. You know what I'm talking about. The 40th anniversary panel was amazing. We got to see Harrison Ford, a fantastic tribute to Carrie Fisher, and we got to see and hear John Williams live. Man, I'm getting goosebumps right now. So thank you very much to Richard and Sarah and the team at Skywalking Through Neverland. I can't wait to hear you Skywalkers talk about your favorite memories in 40 years of Star Wars. Never stop celebrating fandom, and I'll see you somewhere in the Star Wars galaxy. Chewie, let's go home.
Now, Skywalkers, we are still looking for what you think pushed fandom in a whole different direction or to a higher level. Now, please send us in a audio clip. You can email us at share@skywalkingthrough-neverland.com. And what and why? And why do you think this particular thing pushed fandom in a whole different direction? It can be Star Wars, it can be Disney, fandom in general. We want to hear it.
Yeah.
And once again, especially why. We love that personal touch. All right, with that, let's now get into things we want to share.
Things we want to share. Things we want to share. Things we want to share.
So, what is everybody up to for this upcoming Star Wars holiday known as Force Friday, or in this case, Force Friday 2?
Well, we have some fun plans that were already in place before we knew it was Force Friday.
Yeah, you know what? Let's blame John Williams for that.
I will. So, Force Friday is this September 1st, this Friday, and we are going to be doing a huge Skywalker meetup at the Hollywood Bowl to see John Williams in concert conducting his music. I'm so excited. And, but before the Hollywood Bowl, if you did not get group tickets with us for the show at 8 p.m., we are actually having a picnic outside the Hollywood Bowl. It's a reserved space in the picnic area number 14, which you can find on the Hollywood Bowl map online. And this is outside the Hollywood Bowl, so anyone can join. And we will be there from about 5:45 to 7:30 or so. And those of you who are joining us and bought tickets with our group, that will be the time to pick up your tickets. So between 5:45 p.m. and 7:30, come by that picnic area to pick up your to pick up your tickets and to just have a nice picnic with us. Just bring your own food, and it should be really fun. I will have the tickets in envelopes for you. And just so you know, if you've never been there before, please prepare for some heavy traffic and hard times parking. So plan to be there about an hour before showtime, around 7, so you can have time to park and get there. And if you want to have a nice long picnic, get there even earlier. The earlier you get there, the less traffic you'll have to deal with.
Yeah, if you have never been there before, right on Hollywood and Highland, there's a big shopping plaza with plenty of underground parking. Mm-hmm. So you can always park there, or you can park in the stacked parking right across the street.
Yeah, and Hollywood and Highland, well, right across the street from the bowl.
From the bowl, yes.
So Hollywood and Highland is about, half a mile or so walk?
Yeah, give or take.
Yeah.
A couple of big long city blocks.
Yeah, up to the bowl. But actually that that walk up to the bowl, the picnic area is right on the way. So
Yes.
you'll run into the picnic
You'll see
area.
a big wall, and you'll see the people all hanging around. There's gonna be 45 of us Skywalkers there.
Yes, we have 45 people in our group who are all going to sit together. It's going to be awesome.
And that group is growing and growing. Every time we put another announcement out, people are like, hey, didn't know you guys were going to be there. I'll be there too.
Yeah. But, well, as of now, I mean, the group is set. Our seats are set.
Yeah.
But anyone who wants to join us for the picnic beforehand can.
I'm talking about the Outer Rim Skywalkers, who are just going to be joining us at the last minute. Why Outer Rim? Because they're not Inner Rim. Just run with it.
Oh, okay.
So it'll be a lot of fun, and bring your lightsabers.
Yes. Oh,
yeah, your
super good idea.
Either your Master Replica lightsabers or your Hasbro lightsabers, because apparently we are the only venue at the Hollywood Bowl where people bring their lightsabers, and we all wave them during the Star Wars fanfare, the Imperial March, and like John Williams says every year, we're the only ones to do this.
For his concerts. That's what you're talking about.
Well, I can't see them doing it at like Les Mis.
Right. I'm just saying.
It wouldn't really be appropriate. But you know what? We've seen Les Mis there, and maybe it would be appropriate.
And last year he mentioned like how special it is to do a concert at the Hollywood Bowl. So not only is it special for us watching, but it's special for John Williams, and that's just exciting.
Yeah, and no promises, but this is where we met J.J. Abrams. 4 years ago at the John Williams concert.
Yeah.
Right as he was just about to go into production for The Force Awakens. So we got a little one-on-one with Mr. Abrams. Good times.
Too bad we didn't have a recorder then.
We were just planning our first show at that point. All right, but the night before the John Williams concert is Midnight Madness, which is what they were calling Force Friday back in the prequel days. So we heard some of the SkyTubers saying they're going to be hanging out in Burbank. I think Hector Rio said, and some other comments which have disappeared by now. But we're going to have some fun things going on. We have a little caravan happening, and we'll do some live reports. Okay. We'll post them up on YouTube, and just throughout the night, we'll have some things going on our Facebook page.
That sounds fun.
And we want to know what you Skywalkers are doing as well on Force Friday, especially at the Midnight Madness sales. So we want to see pictures. If you have video, show us what you got, what you didn't get.
And some of that new Star Wars AR on your Star Wars app. So make sure you update your Star Wars app, because there will be things to do in store even if you aren't buying anything. And you can have pictures with Admiral Akbar or have porgs appear on your phone, all kinds of fun things.
And get a chance to meet some new characters.
Ooh, yeah, that's right. The more you use the app, I believe you unlock new characters for the film. At least 2, I think.
And it's going out throughout the whole weekend.
Okay.
So you can't get them all the first day because they want you to come back Saturday and Sunday.
Go to different stores.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
So Skywalkers, please post your pictures. We are dying to see them. All right, now with that, let's find out what it takes to chart who has what lightsaber color, who fires what blaster bolt, and where we can find the best film transitional wipes from one scene to the next in Star Wars.
Be our guest, be our guest, put our podcast to the test. Gather round the microphone and we will do the rest.
Ever wonder who name drops the Force the most in the Star Wars films?
Or have you ever wanted to know the history of Lando Calrissian's shady deals?
Maybe you wanted to know who had what color blaster fire.
Well, if you wanted to know the answers to all these fun facts, then you've got to pick up Star Wars Super Graphic, a visual guide to a galaxy far, far away by Tim Leong from Chronicle Books.
Last week we reviewed this book and we were so impressed we knew we had to get Tim on the show to find out more about his collection of page-turning tidbits.
Hey, Tim.
Howdy. Hey, guys.
Hey, thanks so much for being on the show. Now, I'd love to know about the concept of this book. What was the one fun fact that kicked this book off, or did you just have the idea kicking around and you knew it had to be a book?
Well, this is my second kind of infographics kind of pop culture book. The first one was just called Super Graphic, and it was about comic books. And when we did that book, I hadn't really thought of it as being kind of like a franchise or anything like that. but my editors at Chronicle Books had the idea to do Star Wars plus Super Graphic, and I was like, that is the easiest pitch. You don't really have to twist any sort of arm or any other appendage. It's like that's yes, sign me up. I'm all in. Like, let's do it. That's fantastic.
Wow.
So it was. It actually came from them, from Chronicle Books, and I was all in.
So what would be like the first thing you thought of, or the first graph, or the first fact that you wanted to represent?
I just started writing out as many ideas as I could, just kind of off the top of my head. And one of the first ones that stood out was the chart is called Dismembers Only.
Yeah.
And it's all of these severed arms that kind of appear throughout, or severed limbs that appear throughout the films. And that was the first one that I really did. And actually it was one of the more time intensive ones, just because the drawing all those arms, the details in there, took a little bit longer than I thought. And it was a slightly different style than I'd done in my previous book. So it took a while for me to kind of figure out what the exact style of this book should be.
Right. What was the fact-finding process like? Did you have to watch the films and shows repeatedly with a collector counter by your side?
I just started an Excel document of ideas, and when I first started, just wrote down as many ideas I could come up with, and that was maybe like 30, 40, 50, something like that, and then went back through and rewatched the films because I was already a big Star Wars fan, maybe not as big as you guys, and but I was a huge fan, and so I already knew so much of that stuff. And so a lot of it came pretty naturally. And then watching the films certainly helped. And I'd already seen, I was a huge Star Wars Rebels fan. But for whatever reason, I actually hadn't watched Clone Wars.
Oh, wow.
So just one of those things that kind of just somehow missed. So I went back and rewatched that. And always just like anytime they mention any sort of data point or, number or dollar amount or anything, I was just like, just started making a tally, and so generated a lot of ideas that way. And then I went back and read most of, if not all of the canon novels that had come out.
Wow.
After 2014. I don't think all of them, but I would say most of them. And then went through all the comics that came out after that as well, and just started writing down any ideas that I had as I went through there.
So how long did it take you to compile this book?
The first draft, the first kind of completed draft, was 4 months.
Wow, really?
Wow.
Dude, you're fat. Like, wow, just getting through the TV show, like the first couple seasons would be like 4 months.
Well, my first book to do the first draft took about 9 months. And it took us a while to kind of get the whole book deal figured out. And by the time we had everything kind of settled, we had to get it done ASAP because we wanted to have it out, make sure it was out in time before episode 8.
Right.
Right. So it was a very tough window, and the book is printed in China. So, you get it done very early, and then it is literally on a slow boat coming from China, all the books. So it just takes a lot longer for it to actually like print and then get here. So we had to get it done pretty quickly. It was funny. The first draft was actually due the day Rogue One came out.
Oh wow!
So, and they had clued me into a lot of to some things in Rogue One, and I got like they're like, you might want to keep space open for Tarkin on. I was like, oh, okay. And so I had a couple clues. But I went on Fandango and got like a Thursday at midnight screening. And so I saw it on Thursday night, came home, designed a couple charts really quick so I make sure there was Rogue One content in there. And I left some holes knowing that, I'd have to probably put some sort of piece of information from Rogue One on there.
The people around you must have been like, what is this guy writing?
And I was like, how much is Bodhi Rook? And I was like, how much is Bodhi Rook's, bounty for? And I'm just like trying to remember all the stuff as I was watching.
Yeah. So my question, did you ever work with Story Group on this?
They did. Yeah. So every draft went through the Story Group.
Okay.
And so they looked at every page and they had some suggestions, definitely had a lot of suggestions, and like, oh, don't, this is actually not right, but it would be more smart or more accurate rather to say X instead of Y. And, a lot of times I would just have questions like, do you have this piece of information? Like, no, this is not something that exists. I was like, okay, well, we won't do it.
For right now.
Yeah, like that Skywalker family tree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there something in the book that you'll need to change for volume 2 because of episode 8?
Look, they don't tell me anything. I don't know. I wish I had like some inside scoop, but
they didn't tell you. Leave a big gap open in that Skywalker family tree. You never know.
Yeah.
Some questions, I just wasn't even bother asking. I certainly did not even dare to ask about Rey's lineage.
Darn it.
You know what? Unless you ask, you're never going to get an answer.
Yeah.
You could have at least asked.
You never know.
Yeah, whenever we meet up with our friends in the story group, we always say, so who's Rey's parents? The last answer we got was Steve and Judy. Now, I'm not sure that's right.
Do you have theories?
Oh. Well, I think maybe the Kenobi standalone film that we've been hearing so much about, that might tie somewhat into Rey's lineage.
That'd be interesting. I don't know who she's related to, and it would be weird if she was like Luke's kid, just because he left her, like they left her there. So I wouldn't want, like, these parents abandoned her. So I don't want them to be like Skywalkers.
It could always go in any direction, and not everything needs to connect with each other.
Right. It's a big universe.
Yes. Not everyone's got to be related to each other.
Right.
Now, was your intention of putting the fun facts in bar graphs and Venn diagrams to teach kids how to read these graphs and charts? Maybe slip in a little learning process?
It wasn't the intent, but it's certainly a great side benefit.
Huh.
My wife's mother was a teacher, and she had my first book in her classroom as a learning tool for kids. And we put out, Chronicle Books put out a teacher guide for the first book, and just put out a teacher's guide for Star Wars Super Graphic. So, which basically that means teachers can use this guide to help as a way to, kind of teach infographics, which is super cool.
Yeah.
Super cool. And I'm really excited about it. I think, if this book helps kids learn about infographics, and that, Excel and data doesn't have to be really boring. They can be there. There's fun things you can do and creative things you could do with information and storytelling.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome. I think that's so cool.
The book worked with me because I learned what a Venn diagram was. Yeah.
Wait, isn't the Venn diagram the one where it's like circles and like overlapping
circles?
It
doesn't have to be a circle. It could be any shape.
But it could be overlapping, like the one in the front,
like the cover, yeah.
Yeah, the cover.
Yoda in the cover, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this kind of reminds me when I was in 3rd grade, my teachers could not get through to me, so they had to restructure all of my work to have to do with Star Wars.
So like 1 + 5 is how much? Oh no.
Like, I don't know.
One droid plus 5 droids is?
Oh, that's 6 droids! I got that! Once you start throwing Jedis in and Jedi councils in and who loves who on what planet, I'm right there.
Sounds like you had some good teachers.
Yeah, they hated me for it because I made them restructure their whole curriculum because I refused to learn. Rich, put away those Kenner action figures and look up, would you? I didn't have a cell phone back in 1978, but I had Kenner action figures.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, but you ask them, and not so much.
All right, so I have a question now. Back to your fact-finding process. You told us you've watched the movies and read the books. Now, did you use some outside source books to verify facts like Stormtrooper organization or droid classes or like the size and the year span of planets?
Totally, yeah. So I got, I have like a closet now full. I can send you a picture. Just like, atlases and all the visual dictionaries and any kind of reference book I could find. The tricky part is that they're not all canon. So just trying to find the information that was strictly canon was difficult. I didn't go back and read any of the expanded universe or Legends books. I only really wanted like kind of pure canon information. The books, though, the reference books are a little bit more difficult because some of them get a little bit outdated. So sometimes what I'd have to do is pull data from there and then just flag it as a question mark. Like, is this still accurate? Can we just double check this? And the story group was incredibly helpful and would just say yes or no on a lot of things. Right. But yeah, they were incredibly helpful, and but so many great books out there. There's so many fun books.
Yeah. Now I don't want to punch holes in your book at all, but I noticed a lack of Star Wars Holiday Special information. Was that intentional?
It was. I don't think we consider that one to be so canon.
Ooh, it had Lucas's hands in it. A little bit. Maybe he had his pinky finger, but he was there.
I thought that might be one just best left alone. But I did try to get in Yub Nub.
Aww.
I feel like that's like a close parallel.
That's true. You know what? Yeah, because they got rid of it in the special editions. So,
yeah.
Well, the Ewoks still do say it, so it is still.
Oh, they do.
Yeah, it is still in the films.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Was there a particular fun fact that caused you the most stress? Like, should I add Mala, Itchy, and Lumpy in there? Should I not?
I think the hardest one was. Boy, I don't know. I think a hard one was like the transitions.
Oh.
One that kind of tracks all the transitions.
Yeah. The transitional wipes.
That was one where I had. Yeah, exactly. That was one where I had to hire an outside freelancer just to help with the data research on that one, just because I have a full-time job and.
Next time give me a call. I love transitional wipes.
That
in
was
Star
his
Wars.
favorite one. I was reading through the book. I'm like, Richard, there's a thing on transitional wipes in here, and he's like, what?
And that's where the fight broke out because I had to grab the book from her. She grabbed it away from me.
It was so funny.
That's so funny. Yeah, I had to get outside help on that one just because there was just no way that I had the time to do that.
How many of these did you commit to memory of the transitional wipes? And I ask that for a reason.
Most of the zanier ones, I would probably just say all of the zanier ones come in the prequels.
Yeah, really. Now, the reason I ask is because we have a little quiz here set up for you.
It's very short.
Yes, there's only 75 questions, okay?
Yeah, okay.
Now, I love the transitional wipes, and I can tell you've spent a lot of time and effort into this. So I want to see if you can tell me where you can find the 360-degree radial wipe in Star Wars.
In which episode number?
Episode 4. What scene do we go from?
What scene?
Yes.
I see.
Yeah. What scene is separated by a 360?
That's a humdinger. That's a real one.
And in film school we called it the clock wipe, where it starts in the middle of the frame.
Oh, it seems like would be something on Tatooine.
Okay, you're very close.
You're hot.
You're hot. Yes. On Tatooine, you're hot.
I don't know. Maybe after they buy the droids.
Now, if you had said the shot of the rolling sandcrawler going down the canyon to the troopers and dewbacks at the escape pod,
Look, sir, droids.
Scene, you would have been correct.
Oh man. Okay.
These are hard questions, Richard.
That's a good question. It's a hard one, but
since this is my favorite category, I got one more. Where do you find a diagonal split to corners in The Empire Strikes Back?
So it starts in the middle?
It starts on one side, and the wipe goes from one corner to the horizontal corner, and it wipes away one shot for another.
Okay.
Where do you find that in The Empire Strikes Back?
Let's say after Leia and Han are captured in Cloud City.
Is that what you want to say? The shot where Luke is being dragged off screen by the Wampa to Han Solo riding to Echo Base on his Tauntaun?
Okay. That's exactly what I want.
Well, then you are correct! Look at this.
Yay!
Okay, 73 more questions to go.
Off the wipes, though. This is a different one.
Okay, different category.
Yes. All right. So, according to you, who had the worst feeling about this?
Oh, well, seeing as that was totally subjective, there's no way I should be able to get that wrong.
So this is a category where you track whoever said, I've got a bad feeling about this.
And which one was...
And which one had the worst feeling about the situation.
I think that was K2.
I've got a bad feeling about...
Quiet.
What?
K2SO.
Because
Rogue One.
it was pretty bad feeling.
Yeah. Because didn't he get shot in the middle of it?
Jen didn't even let him finish the sentence.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, he had that bad of a feeling. She's like, know what? I don't even want to hear it. All right, last question. In your book, Star Wars Super Graphic, A Visual Guide to a Galaxy Far, Far Away, plug, what 4 film characters use the Jedi mind tricks with the best results? What 4 film characters use the Jedi mind tricks with the best results in the films only?
Obi-Wan? Luke? Oh, wait. No? Luke?
Oh, you're going from best to worst.
Yes, from best to not so best.
Oh, from best to worst. Oh,
from most successful. The best results.
Most successful.
So you had Obi-Wan.
Oh.
So far, so good.
The next one is not Luke, according to Richard.
Not Luke, yeah. And I would say not Qui-Gon, because I feel like he had pretty mixed results when he tried.
Or you can say Qui-Gon.
Or was Qui-Gon? Oh, man.
Okay, we have Obi-Wan, we have Qui-Gon. I know it's the East Coast, so it's a little bit later for you, so you know what? We'll let that one go. All right, who was third?
Luke?
Luke is right.
Yes.
And lastly,
Anakin?
No.
Not according to you.
Someone from
okay.
newer film.
Well, I would believe me. I would believe 2016 me more than I would believe 2017 me. Well, who did I say?
She was in The Force Awakens.
That would be Rey.
You will remove these restraints and leave this cell with the door open.
There you go.
Woohoo!
You almost successfully passed your own test.
I set a high bar. To be fair, I had a baby right after that book was finished, so I feel like there was a very large section of my brain that just kind of withered away.
You know what? Hold on one second. Judges! Judges rule in your favor. Okay. All right. The victory is yours.
Yes. Congratulations, by the way.
Now, I love the use of your graphics. How did you come up with the particular concepts for each graphic, particularly the Vader chest piece?
Well, you know, the amazing thing about doing a book on Star Wars is that it is so full of classic iconography. You know, if you just look at Vader's chest piece, you know exactly what that is. Yoda's face is so simple, and like if you boil so many different things in Star Wars down to their most simplest shapes, they become incredibly iconic on their own. The light paneling in the background of all of like those Imperial ships is so iconic. The lightsabers are iconic. There are just so many great visuals to pull from. It made my job so much easier. A great example of that is that Vader chest plate, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what I did is I went through and just made a list of every kind of super graphic, no pun intended, visual, and that was one of them. And so once I had those, it had to be something that was visually interesting, but also simple enough that I could kind of force data into it. So that type of chart is kind of like these little character portraits that are kind of happen every once in a while throughout the book, just to add a little bit of levity, which kind of helps for pacing, and just get some jokes in there. And so that was one of them, yeah.
So what we have is Darth Vader's chest panel, and the red denotes time Anakin had his first lightsaber, and then whenever we see the blue button on Vader's chest piece, the blue denotes time Anakin used Qui-Gon Jinn's lightsaber, and then the gray, which is all the bottom buttons and the side bars, time Anakin had his second lightsaber. So
but then the black.
In the black, time Darth Vader had his lightsaber, and it's like 75% black.
Right. Did you actually do like the percentages?
I would say this one is more representative in a general sense.
Okay.
Those character portrait ones are a little bit looser and a little bit more subjective.
Okay. Yeah, because you also had one on R2d2 and C3po. There's so much information to digest. I love these pages because it does, like you just said, adds levity to it.
Right.
So I do love the fact that you have some of these moments of like, okay, let's let our brain rest for a second after going over the Jedi Council for each movie. Like after you read that, I took a nap.
That was so cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Was there something that you wanted to add to the book that either Lucasfilm Story Group had said, yeah, let's cut that out, or you said, you know what, I'm not really certain on this, and I just got to cut it out because I don't want angry fans at my doorstep?
Anytime we had to remove something, it was usually because there just wasn't the data for it. I think that was one of the more difficult parts about the book. My first book that I did for the comic books, every spread was on a different comic book, right? So you could pull through, have one spread, and it's just like 100 the first 100 issues of Walking Dead or something like that, right? So you have like these infinite amounts of backstory to pull from just to make one chart. Here, there's 7 movies, 8 movies, and a couple TV shows and a couple books. So the information pool is a lot more limited, which means you have to get a lot more creative with the data that you have. So it was definitely difficult to kind of come up with enough charts that have like a lot of data to them. And if any time we had to remove something, it was really just because we just didn't have the data for it. The process was really was tough for these because basically you start with the idea, like anything, right? Come up with an idea. Maybe it's a good idea, maybe it's a bad idea, right? And sometimes you don't know until you actually do the work to figure it out. Right. So the next step is to do the research and do the reporting, right? To see if you could actually find that data. Because the idea is almost just like a hypothesis, right? So you go in and you start doing the research and you're like, oh, okay, I found the data for it. And then you're like, is that data actually interesting? Or is it just data? Is it boring, right? Because you still want it to be interesting. So, okay, yes, it's interesting, cool. So now let's design it. Because it has to be both, right? It has to be interesting data and interesting visual. At least that's the goal, right? That's the hope and goal. That's what we try for every time. And so sometimes you get good data, but you can't make a good chart out of it for whatever reason. Sometimes it's bad data, but it looks really good. That doesn't help either. So that sweet spot, if this were a Venn diagram, it would be good data, like interesting data and interesting chart, interesting visual. And what we came up with was in the middle. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Like an example of that is like, I thought it'd be funny to do a chart of every time Zeb in Star Wars Rebels said Carabast. Right? Because I feel like he says it like 10 times an episode. Like, okay, that'd be really cool to kind of track that.
It's a trap! Carabast! 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 What does that even mean?
And then so I went through all the transcripts and pulled every Carabast mention. And it like wasn't interesting. It only happened like 5 times in this. I don't remember the exact data, but it was not statistically interesting.
Oh, Carabast.
How many times he said it, and there wasn't really anything to pull out of it. So that was the case, right? He did the research, and it was like, oh, this is actually not that cool. This is not boring. It would be a real struggle to pull anything interesting out of this.
Right.
Cute idea, but it didn't go anywhere.
Was your visual guide to the comic book universe, was that your first book for Chronicle?
It was my first book ever, yeah.
Oh, wow. Did they come to you, or did you go to them with this idea?
It was I came to them. I was working at Wired magazine at the time, and I was just like, let's. They always say like write about what you know, and I'd been doing a lot of infographics, and I was always a huge comic book fan, so I was like, let's just put these two things together.
Does that include Marvel and DC in your book?
It does. It's Marvel, DC, independent comics.
Wow.
The whole gamut.
When do you sleep?
Well, for that book, you just get to put yourself on a schedule. I'm sure it's like with you guys, right? Like you do have day jobs and you do this podcast on the side.
And we know by every Wednesday night, the show has got to be done.
Yeah.
Right. So for me, it was like I just worked on Sundays. I just took it off the schedule completely. I was like, it's my only way to stay kind of focused is like I just take one day off the schedule. And once you kind of just remove it completely, you kind of stop missing it. And then I would just work at night on charts. And you kind of just set a goal for yourself. It's like, well, my draft is due in 3 months, so that means X amount of charts per week. And then you just try to hit that goal. And sometimes you're over, sometimes you're under, but at the end it kind of evened out.
So then you must have Comixology and not have the actual
hard
book,
copies?
the actual hard copy books.
I have so many books. It's insane. I have so many books. Yeah. Especially in a New York apartment. It's just like, there's just no room for books here.
Your brain must be fried at the end of each day. You're writing this.
When I was done with my first book, I was like, there is no way I will ever do another book ever again. I was like, this is just too much. It's just too hard. Like, I need to come up with a simpler concept. Not something so laborious. And it was just, but then they got me with Star Wars. I was like,
yeah. It's like, you can turn your back now, Tim, or we can give you Star Wars.
Yeah.
Enough time passed, and I was like, oh, yeah, that was really fun. And you kind of forget how hard it was and how good it could be. But it was a really rewarding process. So I have no regrets about it.
Well, for all the hard work you put into this, it's making people very happy, including us, because we just love this book.
I hope so. Thank you. It's really great to hear. I mean, after I watched Rogue One, I was like, oh, this book is going to be very helpful for people, because after doing all the research, I was just like, wow, my wife was really concerned that I was like not going to like Star Wars after this, because you kind of just throw yourself into it.
Oh.
But I was opposite. I liked it even more. There's just the universe, the Star Wars galaxy is so big. There's so many different storylines. There's so much cool stuff happening. But to like any layperson, someone who's not like a crazy, crazy diehard fan that doesn't listen to Star Wars podcasts, those rando weirdos.
Yeah.
It's overwhelming. It's like too much. There's a lot going on, and it's too much to really. It's a very big pill to swallow. So the goal with this book is hopefully to make that universe a little bit smaller for people, and to kind of really help connect the dots and help people understand what's going on and how people are related in kind of a fun and funny way.
Oh yeah.
So I hope that is a guide, and I hope it's helpful for people. And I hope people that read it end up liking Star Wars more and are like enthused and inspired to go check out other things.
Was there an age range you had in mind?
Yeah, I think anyone that likes Star Wars, I got a note from this guy who got his book for his kid who was going off to camp, and the kid got it at camp, and it came back like super dog-eared, and all the pages messed up, and the kid, and his bunkmates just poured through it during camp, and he came back, and the dad was like, I've had like so many incredible like father-son conversations, and it was just like this incredible bonding tool for him, and it was just like done. It's like completely worth it.
Oh.
Wow, that's a fantastic story to tell after doing something like this.
Oh.
Yeah, that was really cool. So, if anything like that happens, that's gold for me.
That's the goal, I think. Well, I do have one question. On page 156, you have Jedi Relationships, or it's called Masterclass, and you have a chart with all the Jedi relationships and like, who's Padawan and Master and stuff, and who kills who, basically. And I noticed that Maul does not kill Qui-Gon in there. So I was just wondering, like, what info were you given to complete this chart? Maybe?
Or do you know something that we don't know?
Yeah.
I'm going to say that is a typo.
Oh, no.
That does not look, as I say, accurate.
Oh.
But the good news is it can be fixed.
That's true. I'll draw a red line.
You can go back to the master print of Phantom Menace and take that scene out.
We'll definitely update it in the next edition.
Oh, next edition, huh?
Will there be a next edition?
As Chronicle Books?
Just for the print run.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I was also looking for like Darth Vader or Anakin Skywalker maybe killing Ahsoka, but that wasn't in there either.
Yeah,
so that's good.
No, I think that line might have been in there. It just got moved to the back behind the blue. But yes, that is what a fantastic guy.
I don't know how.
No, that's great.
Is there a volume 2 in the works after The Last Jedi comes out?
I don't know. We haven't talked about it yet, but from your mouth to force Yoda's ears.
Well, if you do, we'll definitely be the first ones to pick it up.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much.
Well, Tim, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I know it was very late for you, so we really appreciate you staying up. And our Skywalkers, they would love to get a hold of you on social media. So can you tell us where we can find you?
Of course. I am on any, social media platform at Tim Leong, TimLeong.
Okay, awesome. So perfect.
Now, before we cut out, is there one thing that you want the fans to look for when they pick up this book? A fact that you said, I can't believe I've never heard this anywhere else before, so I'm glad I get the chance to be the first one to put it in a book, and I want fans to discover that. What would it be?
Well, the first thing you should do is draw a red line from Darth Maul to Qui-Gon Jinn. And if you already have a red line in yours, it means you have a fresher copy, so congratulate yourself. But I think one of the things that I was really proud of was there's a chart of every known Jedi's lightsaber color. I thought that was really cool. That was one of the ones I was really happy with, just because it wasn't like there was no complete list kind of put together already. And Lucasfilm was incredibly helpful on helping gather some of that information. But that was one that I was really, really excited about. And also the map. I'll say a couple of ones. That one, I know you asked for one, but I just can't do just one.
That's
but
okay.
The map on page 10 and 11, I think is the most complete current map of recent events.
Ooh.
A lot of their maps in the books are very specific to different sectors. And this map takes into account a lot of stuff. You kind of see everything.
And the Hosnian system with all the planets listed.
Oh,
wow. And Jellican, I was excited to have Jellican on there.
Oh, Lost Stars.
Lost Stars was my favorite book. My favorite thing, I think, favorite piece of Star Wars media that I consumed while researching the book.
It's amazing. That's awesome.
If you're listening to this podcast and you haven't read Lost Stars, I would go get it immediately. I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was the best, hands down the best Star Wars book that I've read. I thought it was so good. So good.
Yeah, it's kind of like The Empire Strikes Back when you ask fans, what film do you like the best? They always say The Empire Strikes Back. And when you ask fans, what book do you like the best? They'll always say Lost Stars.
I kind of hesitated because it had, this YA titled for it. And that was proved to be an incredibly stupid judgment on my part. It checks every box in terms of action and emotion and kind of connecting to the bigger picture of Star Wars in not a forceful way. No pun intended.
And it connects the original trilogy to the new films.
Yeah.
So, it did have everything going for it. Well, Tim, when you want to write Volume 2, you hit me up and I'll give you all my notes on the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Yes.
Just make sure those fit in there somewhere.
Also, the transition wipes for those.
The transitional wipes.
Yes.
And we're going to add the Who Jibs in there because, you know what? They're not making them canon just yet. So if you add them in your book, then the Who Jibs will be canon.
Sounds like a deal.
We're going to force Lucasfilm's hand. How's that?
I like it. We got a plan.
I love good plan. All right, Skywalkers. Well, if you want to have a happy Force Friday, go and pick this book up. It is, once again, Star Wars Super Graphic, A Visual Guide to a Galaxy Far, Far Away by Tim Leong.
And then hit him up on Twitter at Tim Leong. Yay.
Tim, thank you very much once again, and you have a happy Force Friday.
Oh, yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I really appreciate it.
Well, now, thanks to Chronicle Books, we are giving away a copy of Star Wars Super Graphic. All you have to do to enter is tweet out a Skywalker selfie and tell us what you love most about listening to Skywalking through Neverland. Now, make sure you tag at Skywalking Pod and at Chronicle Books and use the hashtag Skywalker Selfie. And just so you know, this contest is open to US and Canada residents. So please, if you live in Canada too, you could win a copy of this amazing book.
We're showing the SkyTubers right now. Look at that. Let's entice them.
Yeah.
Look at all those Venn diagrams and bar graphs and charts.
It's really, really
I'm not even sure what kind of graph that is right there.
It's
statistics.
So, yeah. It's like so mesmerizing, this book.
This is kind of like the Ultimate Star Wars book, but in graph form.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, this is a cool page.
Such a great book, everyone. Even if you don't win this copy, I can't express enough how you need this book in your collection. And now with that, let's continue on with these Skywalker shoutouts.
Shoutouts, Skywalker shoutouts. Which Skywalkers get props from here in Neverland? Who was tweeted out? Shout out. Who was photobombed? Shout out. Who was shared a post? Shout out.
All right, Skywalkers, we have our Skywalking Disney cruise coming up in mid-September, and I just want to give a big shout out to Reynold Gobiel, who sent in a graphic that we were welcome to use for the Skywalker cruise. And it's really neat. It's the Disney cruise ship, and overhead is a Star Destroyer coming up on the cruise ship. So it's really cool, and thank you, Reynold, for doing that. I mean, it's amazing that you took the time out of your day to create a graphic for that cruise.
Yeah, much appreciated. Which Star Destroyer would that be? The Devastator, the Avenger? Let us know.
Nice. Now, on episode 181, we talked about the as-yet unconfirmed Obi-Wan Kenobi standalone film and what storyline we'd like to see. Now, our Skywalkers, you guys really got into it and posed some more awesome theories. So I wanted to bring up some of these theories. Now, Infinirama616 on Twitter, they tweeted, "Great episode. I would like to see a Kenobi determined to watch over Luke, but in Mos Eisley, he is somehow taken off guard by slavers or bounty hunters. The movie is him escaping, saving some people, and trying to return to Tatooine."
That's a really good idea.
Yeah, it sounds cool.
I love that.
All right, and then Chris, who is at Theater Nation on Twitter, he had so many theories. Well, one big theory that he sent us a direct message, and here you go. This is his theory. So, I have a theory about something for the Kenobi movie. The Lars despise him for some reason in A New Hope, meaning something had to have happened in their past. I'm going to say that the Lars also have a child who gets killed instead of Luke. My theory is that the Emperor somehow figures out that Anakin had a child and that it's on Tatooine, and he sends a bounty hunter to kill the child, but the bounty hunter kills the Lars child thinking it's Luke, and the Lars blame Obi-Wan for their child dying. So they vow to keep Luke away from him and the whole Jedi lifestyle. You could incorporate Jabba, bounty hunters, all of it. Wow.
This is another great film idea with a lot of heart to it.
I know, yeah, like the fact that it's another child, like the bounty hunter kills the wrong child or something, or maybe Kenobi saves Luke, but doesn't get to save the other child.
And you know what? This makes a perfect Disney film.
Because someone dies?
Because a family member dies. But this time it's not the parent, it is the child.
Yes.
Wow, explanation. Well, then again, the Lars don't like Obi-Wan because they don't want Obi-Wan taking away Luke and putting him in that Jedi lifestyle because they've seen what happens.
Mm-hmm. And also, let's see, Chris also mentioned that until the point that the Lars child dies, Obi-Wan is in contact with the Lars regularly, but then goes into deep exile when that happens and sheds the name Obi-Wan as a matter of shame.
Oh.
That's pretty awesome theory right there.
Could you maybe see the beginning of this almost being like Harry Potter, where the Lars are the Dursleys?
Oh.
And the son just tortures a young Luke Skywalker?
Yeah. Oh, wow. Jeremy Hunt says maybe Mrs. Lars had an eye for Kenobi, and Mr. Lars had to put him on the excommunication.
Ooh,
That's another good theory.
So
Whoa.
many different ways to go with this.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, Disney, if you're listening, get a pen. Come on. These are such great ideas.
They are. Wow.
Well, thank you, everyone. And we're so glad everyone loved our Kenobi Theories episode on episode 181 of Skywalking Through Neverland, because we got a lot of responses from that and what way they want the Kenobi standalone to go. Mm-hmm. And just their opinion on it, whether they want it, whether they don't want it. Wow, that's just creating a whole new level of controversy.
Yes, it is.
Wait a minute. Controversy in the Star Wars fandom universe?
What?
Mind blown. You know why else my mind is blown right now? Because we have a very long overdue Skywalker of the Week. How's that for a segue?
Nice.
Adam Bray, Star Wars author. Adam Bray, Star Wars author. Adam Bray.
Congratulations, Adam! Oh my gosh, I can't believe you haven't been Skywalker of the Week.
Some people we just assume have been Skywalkers of the Week.
Yeah, exactly.
And so we'll go through our list like, oh, wait a minute. Adam hasn't been? Adam, author of everything you need to know about Star Wars and just, hold on, a myriad of Star Wars books.
Uh-huh.
And trying to fit in this word myriad for every
Very
episode
nice.
now.
Well, and just this past week, Adam tweeted, "Fun driving home from CC Comic-Con, listening to Star Warsy new episodes of Skywalking Pod." Aww.
Well, thank you, Adam. And thanks to all the Skywalkers who listen to us week in and week out. Now, Sarah, if they want to become a Skywalker of the Week, how should they go about this? And let us know if you have not been a Skywalker of the Week, because we have an ongoing list.
Mm-hmm.
So if you
and
have been
sometimes we
overlooked,
forget. Yeah.
not on purpose. Well, then again, you gotta be in it to win it. So you gotta comment, but just let us know. Let us know if you have not been the Skywalker of the Week.
And then also tweet out or Facebook out something like why you like Skywalking Through Neverland. You know, like Adam did. He just randomly put out a tweet, "Fun driving home, listening to, Skywalking Pod." So the fact that you mention us and that basically he boosted our signal, so people may see that tweet and be like, "Oh, what is this Skywalking Pod?" and check us out. So that's the whole point of being the Skywalker of the Week, is to share Skywalking Through Neverland with your set of friends.
And that way we can spread our positivity through fandom.
Absolutely.
All right. Now, do you know who we're a fan of? I'm trying to work in another segue. We are a fan of Rob Dellinger.
That's right. And he creates all these jingles. He is our podcast composer. He is amazing. And we're going to see him on his birthday watching John Williams. He's going to be at our big John Williams meetup at the Hollywood Bowl. I know, so exciting. So thank you, Rob Dellinger, for doing all that you do for the show. And that's who writes your jingles, Skywalker. So give him a big shout out.
Hey, do you think at some point John Williams will turn around and say, "Hey, look, the me of podcasting"?
I think that would be amazing.
Oh, Rob would just turn into an orange pile of goo.
That's amazing.
All right, now let's move on and talk with our new good friend, Josh Shaffer, the author of Discovering the Magic Kingdom, an unofficial Disneyland vacation guide. Summer is now over, but it's never too early to start planning for your fall and winter Disney vacations. Luckily for you, we have the man who can help you prepare.
Joshua Shaffer is with us to share tips and info from his book, Discovering the Magic Kingdom, an unofficial Disneyland vacation guide, and to discuss his Disney fandom.
Hey, Joshua.
Hey, guys.
Hey, thanks for being on the show. It was great meeting you at Disney D23 Expo a couple of weeks ago, and we really hit it off. And I thought, wow, this guy will be a good guest for Skywalking through Neverland.
Yeah, it was great meeting you too. It definitely split up the day because they were long days. I mean, it opened at 9, it closed at 7, and I was standing pretty much the whole day.
Well, yeah, you were selling your book, right?
I was there. I just got my book 2 days before that, so.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
It was kind of close. When I was getting it published, I had problems with my publisher, and I ended up having to fire them.
Oh.
And last minute had to hire a new one. I ended up going with Synergy Book Publishing, and they've done like 10 other Disney books before, so they've done Disney books and they know what to do when dealing with that. And they were going to be delivered to my house. It was 1,500 copies were going to be delivered to my house right before I had to leave for the convention, and the truck broke down on the way from Canada, from Quebec, Canada. They were driving across the United States. So I was like, I have to go down there. So my publisher made a deal with the printer to just overnight ship 150 copies to me. Wow. And so, yeah, they sent them to my friend's front porch, and it was 11 o'clock in the morning of the first day of D23. So I left the convention, went to my friend's house, got all of the boxes. It was my first time to even look at the book because I had to waive my rights to the printers, the proof, look at it, because I was no time. So I drove them back, and I know once you leave, you're not supposed to take stuff in and out once the convention starts. So I kind of just strapped down 3 boxes of books to my dolly and kind of just walked in like I knew what I was doing. And
that's the key to success. Just look like you know what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And if you didn't get your books that day, you could have taken a page from the Kenner Vintage days and given them an early bird dust jacket and say, in 4 to 6 weeks, you will get your book.
Yeah, exactly. I did have plenty of copies of my first edition because I was not sure that I would get my second one in time. And I ordered 100 from my original publisher. And so I did have plenty of those to go around. But, I wanted my new one in my hands. It's 700 pages. It's so much bigger than my first one.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, before we go into your book here, tell us about your Disney fandom.
Well, I'm a huge fan of the Pirates of the Caribbean.
Okay.
Right on.
And I do love Star Wars. I'm not as deep into them as you guys are, but I do love having at least one Star Wars movie night a year at my house where we watch all of them. And I do love pirates. I wear the shirts. That's my favorite attraction in Disneyland. I don't know. I just really like the whole pirates thing. I'm glad they came out with the new movie. It's not my favorite of the bunch, but it's still there.
What is your favorite Pirates of the Caribbean movie?
It's got to be the first one.
Yeah.
I did really like Davy Jones though. So when Davy Jones showed up in the the second one, I did like that too. But they could have skipped the fourth one.
Yeah. And Davy Jones is my favorite monkey too. So I agree with you there. Now, does your Disney fandom go back to when you were a child, or did you discover it later on in life?
No, I discovered it. I was about 21 years old. I started going to Disneyland for pretty much the first time. I'd gone when I was younger, but I didn't remember much. So I started going when I was 21, and I walked into the park and like this place is cool. I mean, over here's there's Peter Pan and there's Pinocchio, the attraction over there. And I used to watch those cartoons, and you have all the music playing in the background, and you can smell stuff on Main Street, and you get sucked into the park, and you're like, this is just like growing up, and you forget that you're an adult.
Yeah, it's those smells. Oh, they get you with those smells on Main Street.
Yeah. I mean, you have to have money like an adult because kids can't afford to go. But once you start going, you get sucked into it. You want to go back over and over again. And I have met a couple of adults who went as an adult who did not have like Disney childhoods where they didn't watch cartoons and stuff like that, and they really weren't into the parks much. So I was like, well, maybe once you guys have kids, you know, and show them movies. I really do think that the fandom for Disneyland is based on your memories of the stuff that's in the park. So if you were exposed to the park as a child or exposed to the movies as a child, then you have something to connect yourself to the park.
Okay, so like your Disney fandom probably began as a kid, but more about the movies and like TV shows?
Yeah, my very first Disney movie that I can recall was Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. And then we did have Cinderella and Bambi, a couple other things. And then I had the Disney afternoon cartoons, and that was about it. I did not have cable growing up, so I did not have the Disney Channel. And I only saw what pretty much came on regular TV.
And when did you first go to Disneyland, the resort park?
Well, I first went in 1983. I was 3 years old. And then I went again sometime when I was a teenager. But the only thing I remember from that was somebody stealing my pager and sunglasses out of my backpack while I was playing video games. That's the only thing I remember. And then all I wanted to do was go back for years and
find them.
Then when I was 21, and find them. And then I went back when I was 21, and after that I was sold.
Nice.
So when did the idea for your book come about? During one of your trips?
Yeah, so in 2006, it was about that time I started learning fun facts about the park, like the basketball hoop in the top of the Matterhorn or Walt's apartment above the fire station, stuff like that. And I was like, hey, that's kind of cool stuff. I've always been a fun fact guy. Like it was always been animals or science or something to do with fun facts. And I would always say, did you know, when I talk to people. But now I can do, did you know, Disney stuff, because Disney was my new thing. I loved going to the park. So now I could do the did you knows.
You're the Cliff Clavin of Disney fandom, aren't you?
They drink steaming hot pots of tea on the hottest days of the year to balance out their inside and outside temperatures. See, conversely, drinking an ice-cold drink on a cold day actually results in a more comfortable body temperature.
Sometimes you want to go where everybody...
Exactly, yes. And I started typing them out on the computer, and then I would print out a page when I'd go to the park, and I'd share my fun facts with people. And then I just realized that there was just so much more out there, so I purposefully started researching fun facts for the park. And since 2006, there have been blogs have been created, books have come out, interviews with Disney people, Imagineers, and a lot of that stuff didn't exist back in 2006. So there's more information to get your hands on now than back then. And what I wanted to do was make my book different than other books by bullet pointing my fun facts. So you can read a book about, let's say, the Haunted Mansion or Pirates of the Caribbean, and it's just like paragraphs. It's just like lots of information. And so what I did was I broke them down into bullet points. It makes it easy to read so that you can easily remember them. And that's the reason why I wrote it the way I did, because I wanted to make it different than everybody else's. Because like I said, books do exist out there, but I wanted everything to be in one place.
Yeah.
So I wanted... Yeah, so there is a Pirates of the Caribbean book and a Haunted Mansion book and stuff about Fantasyland, but I wanted to do the entire park. And I wanted more than just... I have a fun fact book that has 100 fun facts in it. I'm like, that's a little pocket, little thing, and each fun fact takes up one page, and it's all big print. And I'm like, there's no information, there's no substance to this fun fact. If I say, did you know, and then say a sentence, I want supporting information. I want the history of that fun fact and how it came about, and as much information about that one thing that I could get in there.
Like, did you know that Doritos were invented in Disneyland?
What? What?
Yeah, they were.
Now that brings me to my question, though. Like, how did you learn some of your fun facts, like this one?
Yeah, and dive more into this Dorito fun fact. I didn't know that.
Well, see, like that Dorito one, that is in that fun fact book I was talking about, but all it said was that Doritos were invented in Disneyland. That's it. Like, and they were actually made in 1964. So what you can do is, if you Google the history of either Frito-Lay or the history of Doritos itself, it talks about them being created in Disneyland in 1964. So the cooks who worked at the restaurant there was sponsored by Frito-Lay. They would throw away their unused tortillas at the end of the night. And Alex, food distributor, suggested, why don't you just cut them up and fry them into chips? So what they started doing was they would cut them up, fry them into chips, and they put seasoning on them so that they would taste like the Mexican chili quiles. And then they started selling them there. And you could only buy Doritos in Disneyland for the first 2 years, and then it went nationwide.
Wow.
I'm surprised on every Dorito bag it doesn't say founded at Disneyland or Disney presents Doritos.
I think that would help. I think that would be cool, but it might have to do with copyright stuff.
Well, now all I know is I want a bag of Doritos now.
Yeah. I say that every time I pass a Doritos truck. I'm like, you were made in Disneyland. And then usually I say it out loud, and then people around me are like, what do you mean? Well, did you know? And then I can tell them about it. Because it was sponsored by Frito-Lay, they owned the rights to the Doritos when they were made. Kind of like the whole thing with Walt and Oswald. You know, Walt was hired to make Oswald the Lucky Rabbit and direct the films, the shorts, and he did. And then the company's like, okay, we're going to take our character and, do something else with it without you. And then Walt had to walk away with this creation that he had made because he technically didn't own it.
It always comes down to the lawyers.
Exactly. And then, Disney does they do have Oswald back now, but there was that huge, 80 years when they didn't have him.
Yeah, what did they trade an ESPN commentator for Oswald?
Oh, that guy's gonna feel good about himself right about now.
I got traded for a bunny rabbit, and it wasn't even a hoojib.
There you go, bringing it back home. Now, you know what? Let's bring it back home to your book. And one of your chapters is titled "Why Adults Love Disneyland."
Yes.
Now, for a theme park that is generally geared toward kids, why do you think we see kidless adults there having a blast?
Like us.
Yeah.
Because those adults used to be kids, and everything that they saw growing up, cartoons, experiences, maybe in the parks themselves, it all goes back to your childhood. So when you're an adult and you go there, all of the stuff around you just unlocks your childhood in your mind. And you're like, that smells like gingerbread. And there's Mickey Mouse over there, and we can go on this ride in Fantasyland that is like going through Peter Pan, the movie that I watched growing up, and you have all these connections to your childhood, and just going into the park makes them all come true.
Yeah.
Plus, that's a good question for all of us, because I can add to that and say that I think Disneyland, more than any other theme park, or the Disney theme parks anyway, have that sense of like they leave out the real world and bring you to their own fairy tale world, because you have the berm there, so you can't see the 5 freeway beyond. Or,
and it's a very happy community too, because you'll never see angry people at Disneyland unless they have kids
I was gonna say.
at their toe, and the kids are yelling and screaming and crying and need a nap. But the kidless adults are usually very, very happy, and you see all walks of life at Disneyland. And sometimes you'll see these guys who you would think just came from the biker bar over to Disneyland. Like, I'm not going to judge, but what are you guys doing here? And they have just as much fun, and everyone becomes one because the outside world is so shut off. You can just be that kid again.
Yeah, and when you're there, you have the same thing in common with everybody around you.
Right.
All those people are there because they love the same stuff you do, and that's why they are there too. And you can share that with people by wearing t-shirts or hats, and then you find someone who also has Stitch on his t-shirt, and you're like, hey, I like Stitch too. And you can just it starts up conversations. Like, my shirts have started so many conversations, because I usually will get like a fan-made t-shirt, or I design t-shirts myself, and I'll wear one of my t-shirt designs, and someone's like, hey, that's a cool shirt. I'm like, thanks, I made it. You should check it out on TeePublic, and it's a great way to break the ice. And you can I've made friends in Disneyland that I'm still friends with today. Actually, one of the guys I made friends with is the one that designed my book cover.
Oh, nice. Wow.
Well, that's a perfect answer to that question then.
Yeah. Oh, and speaking of bikers, I was there once, and I saw Dog the Bounty Hunter with his kids.
Wait, who?
Dog the Bounty Hunter?
Yeah. He's from a TV show. He's this big gruff guy who tracks down fugitives and arrests them on camera. And he's this big guy who usually carries a giant can of pepper spray. And he's just like this muscular, bearded looking, like biker type guy. And he was walking around Disneyland.
He's kind of like a smaller version of the Hulk. It's a big hulking guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
Now, the book is called Discovering the Magic Kingdom, an unofficial Disneyland vacation guide. Now, does your book cover both theme parks, since you have both theme park names in the title?
Okay, so here's what happened. When I was researching my book, I was not looking up anything on Disney World. I had never been to Disney World before. I had no idea that the name of the park inside Disney World was called Magic Kingdom. One of the 4 parks was called Magic Kingdom. I had no idea. I just knew that the Magic Kingdom was Walt Disney's nickname for Disneyland. And they even say it like in announcements, like, welcome to, Walt Disney's Magic Kingdom. You can still hear it on I don't know. They just reopened the train and I hear they have different dialogue. So they may have taken it out, but I had no idea. And then I found out that Magic Kingdom was the name of the Florida park, and I'm like, okay, I need to change something here. So I added an unofficial Disneyland vacation guide. It was originally called Disneyland Vacation Guide, but my first publisher told me to add in unofficial just, for legal reasons.
Yeah.
But you can use the information in this book and apply it to Disney World as well, right?
Oh, yeah. A lot of the stuff like the rules and stuff, ways to save money, tips on getting around the park, they will work in Disney World. But like the history and fun facts of the attractions themselves, those are just in Disneyland and California Adventure. I do have a couple pages for Disney World for fun facts and stuff, like the amount of people that have gone, when they open, stuff like that.
Okay.
So your book isn't just vacation tips, it's fun facts and lots of other stuff. So give us an overall concept of the book as a whole.
Well, the book as a whole has over 3,700 fun facts in it.
Whoa.
Oh, really?
So you're taking that 100 fun fact book and going, bam, look what I got.
Exactly. Now, my first book was a little bit under 1,000 fun facts, and I really wanted to just go all out with the new one. And I had actually started writing it back 7 years ago after my first one came out.
When you say first one, that was your first edition of this book, correct?
Yes, yeah, my first edition. So my second edition is basically my first edition, but expanded on, and I did take some stuff out that no longer applies. I took out my ghost stories. I took out the incident section because I wanted, maybe Disney will pick this up, and they don't want people to know of all the incidents that happened to the park. So I did take that section out, along with some other stuff. So I did remove like 15 to 20 pages before I started writing the new one. And then last year I got invited to share a table at D23, and I'm like, yes, I want to do it. I really need to get my book done. So the first 6 months of this year, I just crammed to get it done. And I wanted to have as much information as I could get. So over 3,700 fun facts, is over 750 photos. There's 54 mini biographies for Imagineers that worked on the parks and the movies and stuff. There's so much information in it. And it not just Disneyland and California Adventure. I also have a bunch of fun facts for movies.
Yes.
Because without the movies, you wouldn't have the stuff in the parks. Yeah. So you got to have fun. And it also gives you something to read while you're standing in line. I have there's like 1,600 or something movie fun facts, and it's for every single animated film that Disney has released since Snow White. Wow. And there's also a generic movie fun facts section, which just talks about, just other movies besides the main cartoons.
Well, yeah, and you also have fun facts for like merchandise, like the Disney Princess merchandise and things like that.
Yeah. I the princess section I added in because it became so popular in 2001 when they created it that the princess stuff has their own following. I mean, that takes up 35 pages of my book just with the princess stuff, and it has all of their movies with their movie fun facts in it. But it talks about the history of the princesses and why Princess Elenwe from Black Cauldron is not a princess, and why Meg from Hercules isn't included, even though she was in the beginning. Same thing with Esmeralda and Tinkerbell. They were all in the princess collection in the very beginning. And then they were either dropped from it, or like with Tinkerbell, she got the Disney Fairies collection, and she was taken and put in her own section. And people don't know all this stuff.
Well, you know what? I never really realized that. Why do you think these princesses were dropped?
So Ellen Wee was dropped because the movie was a bomb. They didn't.
The Black Cauldron.
The Black Cauldron. It didn't do well at all. She's an actual princess. She's bloodborn. She's Princess Ellen Wee. She didn't get married into it or anything like that. Esmeralda and Meg were dropped because they weren't princessy enough. So like Hercules isn't a prince.
There are strict guidelines then.
There are strict guidelines, but then there's things that they'll break. Like, are they going to add Elsa to the collection because she's a queen?
Yeah.
She's technically not a princess, but if they add Anna, like people would be like, what about Elsa? Then you have to worry about them, not wanting the sisters to be together. But if she's added to the princess collection, then Elsa won't be part of the collection unless it's going to be the princess and queen collection.
Right.
Yeah, then we can tell people, you know what? Go look at Josh's book. You'll find out why.
Yeah, exactly. But if they do queens, then they should add Queen Kidda from Atlantis. Like she's not added because she's a queen. So, what rules are they going to have to bend for this? They don't have them in the Princess Collection right now because right now Frozen is its own collection and it's making a ton of money. So, for at least right now, they're not in it because of that. And then Princess Moana hasn't been added yet. She hasn't had her official ceremony to add her into the Princess Collection.
Right.
Boy, this is like a book and a book and a book and a book and a book.
You wouldn't even be able to put this down once you start reading it. It's just so much, and it's really fun too, especially if you've seen the movies and you're reading the fun facts about either the Easter eggs, or I do have a whole section called "Who Does That Voice?" and they're voice actors who you may not have even realized did the same voice. Like the guy who did the voice of, I'm forgetting his name right now. He was Smee, Peter Pan. He was also the White Rabbit. He was also the park ranger in the Humphrey the Bear cartoon shorts, and he's also Droopy Dog.
Oh, that funky voice, the weird.
Yeah, like he has jowls, and that's how he started that talk, because of Droopy Dog. So he started that voice because of the cheeks like this, and so that's started. Bill Thompson.
Bill Thompson, yes.
Yeah. Okay. I just remembered it. And
yeah, me too.
There's so many people, and then even people who did cartoons did stuff for the parks. Like you can see like Paul Frees, the ghost host from the Haunted Mansion. He's in tons of stuff. He's Ludwig von Drake, the crazy scientist duck. He's been in so many cartoons, and even like the Year Without, I think it was Year Without Santa Claus, the old stop motion movie that you'd watch on like a Sunday night before Christmas time. It came out like 1967. Like these people have been around in all of the 50s, 60s, 70s, and you just don't realize it.
Wow.
Okay, how about this? We just lost June Foray 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. Okay, she passed away. She was in How the Grinch Stole Christmas. She was Cindy Lou Who was no more than 2, but she was also Granny and Sylvester and Tweety. She did. She was in Cinderella. She was Lucifer. On Pirates of the Caribbean: The Ride, she's the Carlos's wife in the window saying, "Don't tell him, Carlos. No, no, no." And then they shoot it. They shoot the gun at the window. Like that's all June Foray, and a lot of people don't realize that her voice is all over the place. She has hundreds of credits to her name, and then we just lost her as one of those great voice actresses of our time.
Wow. Well, you know what? What was your favorite part to write in your book?
The attraction fun facts. I actually had a blast writing mostly about Pirates and Haunted Mansion. Pirates, mostly because it's my favorite, but there's so much in the Pirates attraction that tie them to real history. So I actually wrote many biographies for the actual pirates that they have on the attraction that you can actually see when you walk in the building, either painted on the wall or they're animatronic figures, or they used to be animatronic figures and then they changed them so they're not. Like Captain Kidd used to be there and he's not there anymore. And they were all real people in history, and so I wrote about their past and who they really were, and how Disney just like they did with Abraham Lincoln. Like he's real. He used to be a real person, and now we're seeing him in an attraction. And they did the same thing with Pirates.
Well, I know your favorite thing is like the fun facts, but you also, this is a Disneyland guide to the parks, so money saving tips. Like what are some of the money saving tips that you've found most useful?
Oh, take in your own food. Always take in your own food. Yeah. Taking sandwiches, peanut butter and jelly. Don't take meat and cheese; they get hot in the backpack. Don't take anything that melts. Taking beef jerky, trail mix. People still ask me, "Can you take food in the park?" Yes, you can take food in the park because they don't announce it. Disney doesn't say, "Hey, bring your own food in the park."
Right.
Oh no!
Oh no!
They want people to, spend $3.50 on a churro, or is it $4 now, or $5?
Oh,
I think it's $15.50. I think $89.92 for a turkey leg.
Yeah, so I take in my own stuff, and then I'll get a churro and a Dole Whip during the day, to have snacks, and I maybe have a meal in there. But just taking your own food, it'll save you so much more money. And do things like when you get your coffee, save your receipt, and you can get a free refill.
Now, I don't know if they still do that anymore because it's a Starbucks now.
When you get it at other places that are not Starbucks, and it's regular coffee. So if it's any kind of like frou-frou drink, it doesn't count. It has to be actual coffee. And then I say things like, if you tie a ribbon to your stroller handle, you'll be able to tell it apart from the others when it's like, in the crowd of strollers.
I've always wondered about that.
Yeah, some people will tie a balloon to it.
Yeah, you'll see that the stroller parking lot, like with 1,300 strollers, how can you ever find yours? And I'm sure people are taking different strollers each time, and I'd be kind of antsy about that. Yeah,
it is weird. And what's weird is I haven't heard anything negative about it. I haven't heard about people's stuff getting stolen.
No.
It just kind of sits there. It's like when you're in the park, unless it's the pager from my backpack, people respect.
Yeah. Do you know why? It's Disneyland. That's why.
Exactly. It's Disneyland. Plus, everywhere you go, you're on camera. There's not a single place that you can stand on Main Street where they cannot see you on at least one camera.
Wow.
Nice. Yeah, good to know for the future.
Exactly. So don't steal anything.
No. We don't condone that.
This is also a great time to teach your kids about how to read a map. Like how to find your bearings, which way is north, follow which path you have to go on to get back to Haunted Mansion. Like, have your kids lead you, because I've met people who don't know how to read an actual street map. I'm like, how do you not know how to read a street map? We have GPS on our phones now. Well, what if you don't have that? What if you need to read a map? It's just a great place to teach your kids on how to read a map. And you can also do things like write your phone number on the back of your kid's hand in case they get lost, and you can you paint over it with like clear nail polish. And then that way, if your kid gets lost, people can see it. They also have those GPS finders now that you can get for like your keys or your wallet, and then your phone can find it. Well, you can put it on your kid's shoelaces.
Oh wow, that's a great tip.
Yeah.
Now, in your next book, I've got a great idea for you. Disneyland Etiquette.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you want to text, you want to be on your phone, pull to the right. If there's more than 3 people in your party, walk in single file. No wide walkers.
It's called a walkway, not a standway.
Yeah, and I've taken many pictures of a huddle of people in a very busy walkway, all just talking to themselves on their phones, and which causes bottlenecks in 2 different directions. And I'll post that and put it up on Facebook, and people are always responding with, how do they not see what kind of a traffic jam they're causing?
People are tunnel vision these days. They see their phone, they don't see anything around them. Best time to play on your phone is while you're just standing in line.
Yeah. You know what? You can call the chapter, get out of your bubble. It's Disneyland. Look up.
Exactly. You're paying how much money to be here, and you're on your phone?
Yeah.
Like, put it away.
If you got a text, once again, pull to the right, would you? Now, with the holiday seasons coming up, people are planning their vacation. What kind of tips do you have for them?
Yeah, well, with Christmas, it's a little different. The last 2 weeks of the month, you can probably be guaranteed that about 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning, they're going to shut down the gates because they're at maximum capacity. So you have to get in there early, otherwise you just get locked out for the day. And it's super packed. Now, the first 2 weeks of December, there's less people because they're all waiting until the end. If they're on vacation for December, they're going to go at Christmas time. They're not going to go in the beginning. So it's a little open there. Thanksgiving week is crowded too. So I tell when's a good time to go. I have a listing of all the holidays of the makeovers that they do for around the park. So like if you want to go at Small World, gets a whole completely different, like they get a whole Christmas theme makeover. Same thing with Haunted Mansion. They get the Haunted Mansion holiday. So there's stuff at Christmas time that you can't see any other time of the year, which makes it awesome. It's more colorful. During the fireworks show, they have fake snow, which is just little bubbles. You know, it makes it fun.
Now, do you think a book like yours can only be written by a true Disney fan?
Oh yeah, definitely. And it can only be written by somebody who's been to the park multiple times.
Right.
I have, when I write stuff, there's things that I question, and I put it on in a separate notepad, and I take it with me when I go to the park so I can verify stuff. Even though I've been well over 130 days in the park. There's stuff that I'm like, I don't know, is it really like that? So I have to go back, maybe take pictures of things or verify information, because you have to have gone to this place multiple times for any of this stuff that I'd be writing to make sense. Now, if you're a first time going and you're reading it in my book, you know, I try to be very descriptive about where things are. So if you're looking for a hidden Mickey or something like that, I'm very descriptive about how to find it. Like, look over here to the right. It's 8 inches off the ground, whatever, so that people can find it easier. Now, I do have the whole hidden Mickey section for the hidden Mickeys in the parks. I have 419 of them listed, which is more than the pocket guide that you can buy in the park.
Wow. Goodness gracious. How did you find some of those yourself?
Oh, I found, on my own, no. What I did was I used multiple sources of where they were, and then I just wrote out my own description, being very descriptive about how to find them, and then rewrote pretty much all of them myself. Wow. And then I got photos of a lot of them. Some of them you can't take photos of, like if you're moving on an attraction and it's just almost impossible to get a moving photo, then I don't have a picture of it. And there's stuff that's changing. Like right now, I hear they're changing the Paradise Pier to Pixar Pier.
Right.
And if they do that, everything gets rethemed. I have a whole listing of hidden Mickeys that are down on that pier, which will, you know, once they redo it, will no longer be valid. So,
well, there's another reason to write your third edition and put in the Disney etiquette part.
Exactly. Now, for my third edition, I'm going to wait a couple years, and I'm going to wait till it's 6 months to a year after Star Wars Galaxy's Edge opens. Because I want information to be... When I was done writing my document, they just opened Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout. I had no information on it. Luckily, I had friends that went that weekend. They sent me photos. I was able to research some stuff online to get fun facts together and put it in there at the last minute. But Star Wars Land, it's going to be huge. There's going to be so much information. I want all that information to leak out, go out, online, be written in books, whatever, before I can research it all. Maybe interviews of people who, Imagineers who've worked on the attraction, and so that I have more information to put in it. Otherwise, it'll be just basic information if I do it right in the beginning. So I'm going to wait like 6 months to a year.
Well, that'll be a lot of fun to include Galaxy's Edge.
Oh yeah,
there'll be volumes and volumes of stuff to work on. Now, what were some of the first reactions you got from your first edition of your book?
People loved it. They were buying for Christmas presents. I had sent it to somebody. It was actually for a radio show, and his son read it in like 2 days in second grade. And yeah, he loved it. Everybody just loved it. And then that's when I started getting people saying, "Oh, you should have a section for this," or Disney park etiquette. And that's how I'm like, oh, that's a good idea. I'm gonna write a section about that. And that's how I had so many more sections added to this book.
Yeah, it is. It's a really comprehensive book, and yet, once again, thank you for sending us a copy so we could peruse it and everything.
Yeah, no problem. And I thought this will be a fairly quick read. I'll just flip through it and get some ideas. But you know what? Once you start, you can't stop.
It's true.
Because there's so many fun nuggets, and the book is separated by just different kinds of topics that you never grow weary of one topic itself, because you have such a great variety.
I wanted to have a little bit of everything. So like with the movie fun facts, I was running out of time toward the end, and I still had so many movies to write about. And what I did was I ended up doing just 5 to 10 per movie, even though there's a lot more out there. So some of the movies like Zootopia, which is my favorite movie right now.
Yay.
There's like 68 fun facts for that movie in there. because
Wow.
I wrote about it after it came out, and there's a lot of information for it. Same thing with Moana. There's a lot. And then I'm writing and I come across, like Bambi. Okay, I don't have time. There wasn't time to write all of this stuff because I had so much to get done before I had to have it published. So what I'm doing is I'm going to read a third book next year. It's not third edition. It's just going to be my third book, and it's going to be a movie fun fact book. It's going to have all the cartoons with all of the fun facts, and I'm going to have a whole section for all the Star Wars movies, Marvel, Pirates of the Caribbean, Pixar. They're all going to have their own sections in the book, and it's just going to be all movies, and there's going to be so many of them. I'm estimating there's probably going to be about 8,000 fun facts.
Wow. Do you have a title for that book yet?
I don't. I need help coming up with one.
How about this? Skywalking through Joshua Schaefer's fun facts.
Movie fun facts.
How about that?
That sounds good.
Tell us about Raleigh Crump, who wrote your foreword.
Wow.
I emailed him one time. I was like, hey, would you be interested in writing the foreword for my book? And he's like, yes, I would love to. So I sent him I just printed out what I had at the time, and I next day FedExed it to him, and he wrote my foreword for my book. And I'm so happy because Raleigh Crump is a huge inspiration for anybody who wants to do anything for Disney. He started out working as an animator, and he ended up working on Haunted Mansion, the Tiki Room pre-show, the Small World. He's the one that carved all the Tiki gods in the pre-show. And it was his first time carving, too. He had never sculpted before. He went to Blaine Gibson and said, hey, I need these sculpted. And Blaine's like, hey, I'm working on stuff for the World's Fair, because this was in the early 60s. And he said, I'll show you how to sculpt. And so he showed him how to work with clay, and Raleigh made the Tiki gods. Blaine Gibson's the one that sculpted the partner statue that's in the middle of the park right now. Yeah. Oh, and then I asked Imagineer Terry Hardin to write my other foreword, and she was also a puppeteer for Jim Henson, and she worked on movies like Ghostbusters, Country Bear Jamboree, Jungle to Jungle. She made the costumes for Dune. She got into working on movies because she saw Star Wars over 100 times in the theaters. She just sat there and she'd write down as many names as she could from the credits, because this was 1977. It was before they had internet. And that's what got her started in showbiz.
Well, Josh, we want to thank you so much for coming on to Skywalking Through Neverland. And please let the Skywalkers know where they can find you on social media and get your books.
If they want to get a copy of my book, they can go to discoveringthemagickingdom.com. And I do sign every copy that goes out, and I can personalize it and mail it to their house, whatever. I am on Facebook if you just look up Discovering the Magic Kingdom, and I am on Instagram if you look up Disney Guides, all one word.
Nice. Okay. Well, and how much is your book?
Oh, my book paperback is $20, and the hardback, which was a surprise to me because I didn't know I was going to have hardbacks, those are $30.
Now, what about personal appearances? Any book signings coming up?
Yeah, actually, my next book signing is on August 26th. And it is going to be the Antioch Family Fair, and it's on Summersville Road in Antioch, and it's in the parking lot of the Antioch Mall, and it's for an afternoon where people can just come and hang out. They're going to have vendors for things there. I'm also going to have a book signing at Barnes & Noble on Lone Tree here in Antioch on September 16th. So that's a month away. And I'm also going to be at MouseCon at the end of this year in November.
Nice.
Oh, very, very nice. All right, Josh, it sounds like you got a very busy schedule coming up, so thank you for joining us on Skywalking Through Neverland. And always remember, if you're going to text at Disneyland, pull to the right.
Exactly. And Neverland on Alderaan.
Oh,
yeah, there you go.
Yay.
That one too.
Nice.
That's where all the texters can go.
That wraps up episode 182 of
Skywalking Through Neverland. We'd like to thank Tim Leong, Chronicle Books, Josh Schaefer,
and all of you Skywalkers who listen every single week. And Skywalkers, if you are listening right now on our YouTube channel, please make sure to hit that like button and then subscribe to our channel. We are in the 850 subscribers range, and it would be great to get up to 1,000. So please share our YouTube videos. We have videos of archival revival, and we also have some construction update videos for Star Wars Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland. Lots of fun things on our YouTube channel.
Now, we are part of RetroZap.com, where you can find articles and awesome podcasts like Brews and Blasters,
Beltway Banthas,
the Deuce Cast Movie Show,
Kanata's Castle, hosted by Red 5 Mom and Becca Benjamin,
Techno Retro Dads, and Talking Apes TV, which is coming out of hiatus in a couple of weeks.
Ooh.
After a couple of weeks of hiatus. Now, you can also find us over there at JediNews.co.uk, where our good friends James Burns and Mark Newbold have a great site for all Star Wars news, and we're going to be seeing James in just a mere matter of hours now.
Oh, exciting.
Yeah, he's in Los Angeles.
Yay. All right, Skywalkers, remember our contest to win a copy of Star Wars Super Graphic. Remember, you have to tweet at Skywalking Pod and at Chronicle Books. Tell us why you love listening to Skywalking Through Neverland, and also make sure you hashtag Skywalker selfie in that tweet and take a picture, obviously, of yourself. You can also find us on our Facebook group, and that's a great way to get to know other Skywalkers. So if you'd like to join us on Facebook, please search Facebook for Skywalking Through Neverland group, request to join, and then answer those 2 questions that pop up. If you don't answer those questions, we don't let you in. We don't care how many Star Wars or Disney photos you have to answer the questions.
Yes.
And you can email us. We are share@skywalkingthroughneverland.com.
And please head over there to iTunes and leave us a review. I'm not going to tell you how many stars. You be honest. We want to hear what you have to say. Now, with that, stay tuned for bits of conversation that didn't fit into the show right after these end credits. And once again, we'll answer the question, will Sarah swear?
Hashtag Sarah swears. All right, Skywalkers, well, have an awesome week. And if you're coming to our Hollywood Bowl meetup, oh my gosh, we'll see you so soon. Yay. So until next time.
Happy Force Friday and
Neverland on Alderaan. Some imagination, huh?
To our Skywalkers and Tweetwalkers, thanks for listening. Skywalking Through Neverland is created and produced by Richard and Sarah Woloski. Original music by Rob Dellinger. Creative consultant Mark Augushowitz. Technical advisor Peter Heitman. Facebook administrators Donald Wicks, Joey Pittman, and Norma Heitman.
Skywalking Through Neverland is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Any sounds, music, and clips played during this podcast are the property of their copyright holders. All original content is property of Skywalking Through Neverland, all rights reserved. Sorry, had to be said.
It's giveaway time! So thanks to Chronicle Books, we have a copy of Star Wars Super Graphic to give away. Now, listen carefully, because this is how you can enter. You have to tweet out a tweet. Okay, bleh. All you have to do...
On top.
Yeah, and I end up learning stuff from like the fun facts on Instagram and stuff about Star Wars just because people will post them. Like, I never knew that about that character, or even these characters that, you know, I didn't even know existed. They just need to put them all in the movies is what they need to do.
Yeah.
Oh, they're working on it. They're working on it. If it's not a movie, it's a TV show. It's not a TV show, it's a comic book. If it's not a comic book, it's a video game. It's not a video game, it's a novel. And
Yeah.
so here's C3PO's golden torso, and the gold represents every time he said, "We're doomed." And the black
most of it.
denotes, "Goodness gracious me."
Nice.
And the little colors denote, "Oh my." So it was one of those charts that you look at, it's like, I'm not sure. Oh, I see.
Right.
Since he says we're doomed so much, that's denoted in gold. And you can also head over there to YouTube and leave us a review. We always love hearing what you think.
Not YouTube.
Not
iTunes.
YouTube. iTunes. Blech.